Welcome to the Break Room Stories, the internet's home for incredibly well-written strange fiction. I'm head editor Carl First. This session in the Break Room features a short piece titled When I Woke Up, You Were Gone by Jon Kemsley Clark. I like how this story refuses to fully declare itself. There are two interwoven perspectives here. There's the voice that introduces each section, and another narrator who seems to watch the world of the story through the sight of a sniper rifle. There's a breakup story here, but it's interwoven with a suspense tale. At times, the two narrators are at odds with each other, and at times, they seem to merge. The resulting tension infects every other element of the story, not least of which, its nameless, struggling characters who are engaged in some kind of fight for their lives. Jon Kemsley Clark has recently been published in New World Writing, The Fiction Pool, Ghost Parachute, and Neon. He works in finance, which is odd seeing as he is trained in science and he likes to mess around with old analog recording equipment. And now, when I woke up, you were gone. Imagine the scene. The motorway rose on slanted concrete pillars over a circular junction. The pillars were tagged with unreadable glyphs, and the paving around them was cracked and grassy. There were no billboards and no fly posters. There were no benches and no flower beds. Traffic passed in twos and threes at unwise speeds, and nobody was walking any dogs. We never talk. The wind scattered leaves in all directions. Two hooded youths on bicycles freewheeled along a footpath, one of them dropping something into a litter bin as he passed. A few minutes later, a middle-aged man in running shorts emerged from the underpass. He padded up to the gentle incline and bumped against the concrete abutments, catching his breath. He reached briefly into the litter bin, and then he was off and across the path and into the other tunnel, and that was that. I want to be alone. He tore open the package and tipped the contents into his lap. There were 3 keys on a ring and 2 small cards. On the first was printed an address. On the second, a telephone number. He recognized neither. He stuffed the items into a pocket in the waistband of his shorts, left the cubicle, and dropped the package into a basket under the steel sink. He stared into the mirror for several minutes, counting the lines around his eyes and gripping the edges of the sink with both hands. The smell of bleach was nauseating. Paranoia. Dear God, tell me it isn't raining again. A glance across the street revealed a terrace of empty shop fronts and a parked car that really shouldn't have been there. But it was. Raining. Again. The terrace backed onto a railway line, and, beyond that, a line of trees. He listened for the sound of trains and watched the leaves catch the breeze. The car was a nameless shade of gray and entirely unremarkable. He shook his head as if he were being watched. It's probably nothing. Is there somebody else? The damp smell was stronger in here. Flies circled something unpleasant in the kitchen. He followed the number on the card with one finger and dialed with another, the receiver in the crook of his neck. The call was picked up, but nobody spoke. He replaced the receiver after a few seconds and took a sip from the glass on the table in front of him. A thread of blood appeared in the water from where he had bitten his lip, fraying out as if it twisted around itself, becoming nothing. The good news. The book felt awkward in his hands. He placed it carefully back on the shelf and swept away the dust it had disturbed. Other than the furniture, it was the only object in the room. It's been a while, he thought. I wouldn't know where to start. He stood for a moment at the window, brushing the dust from his hands. Clouds were passing over, and sunlight through the curtains fell across the bed's bare mattress. Don't lie to me. In the afternoon, he wandered around the derelict station. He tried to see in through the windows, but they were all boarded up. He noticed the car, which had been parked at the roadside for 2 days now, had acquired a ticket under one wiper. That night he fell asleep on the sofa in the front room and dreamed of sitting alone on the station platform, clutching a timetable with all the entries crossed out and looking up at the large station clock without any hands. He woke at 5 and realized there would be no further instructions. Take your things and get out. He moved quickly from room to room, searching for personal effects. He gathered up the few items of clothing he'd brought with him and stuffed them into a canvas hold-all. He put a match to the phone number and dropped it into the sink. The keys. What had he done with the keys? A panic began to take hold of him as he fumbled the remaining money in his wallet, and he had to count it twice over. I want you to know. He entered the street, pulling the door behind him until it gave a soft click, and then pushing against it just to be sure. He paused, shaking, to fasten his coat. The sky was dark and the roads still quiet. He coughed and spat into the gutter and moved off. An engine started up somewhere behind him. He turned to see full headlights and the dark outline of the driver. The passenger door swung open. I would never hurt you. The leaves had been swept away, the litter bins emptied. But now there was something else. At the edge of the road that crossed the underpath and circled back on itself beneath the heavy thoroughfare lay the body of a man. Something quite easy to miss against the massive concrete structure rising above it. In a couple of hours, it would be found and removed by persons unspecified with neither consequence nor column inches to follow.